The state of British politics has reached a point of palpable frustration, both for the people and the leaders. The once respected pillars of competence and accountability have begun to crumble under the weight of their own mistakes, hypocrisy, and failure to listen. From the ludicrous spectacle of farmers hijacking Keir Starmer's speech to the growing financial scandals surrounding Rachel Reeves, the Labour Party is fumbling at every turn. Meanwhile, Reform UK, once the beacon of hope for a disillusioned electorate, is on the brink of a disastrous misstep with its misguided stance on net zero. This is no longer a question of political disagreements. It's about survival in a volatile landscape where voters are more discerning and unforgiving than ever. Keir Starmer's humiliating encounter with furious farmers in Milton Keynes should be a wake-up call. The Labour leader, in a desperate attempt to push his housing agenda, found himself drowned out by a chorus of tractor horns, a resounding symbol of the deep disconnect between his party and the very people it claims to represent. Starmer's inability to handle such a minor protest only underscores the larger issue. Labour is out of touch with the working class. The farmers' protest, centered around the government's disastrous inheritance tax changes, exposed the fatal flaw in Labour's approach to policymaking, a reckless disregard for the livelihoods of those who put food on the nation's table. If Starmer cannot even engage with a group of irate farmers, how can he possibly manage a country? The Labour Party's penchant for ignoring genuine grievances is not new, but it has reached a tipping point. The inheritance tax changes threaten to destroy family-run farms. Far from being the rich landowners Labour likes to portray them as, these are hard-working people struggling to maintain their generational legacies. Yet, instead of addressing their concerns, Starmer and his party chose to run for cover. This isn't leadership, it's cowardice. The farmers are not just protesting, they are demanding respect and the attention of a government that has neglected them for far too long. They made it clear that they will not go quietly, and if Starmer thought this protest was loud, it's only going to get louder. But the farming community isn't the only group calling for accountability. Rachel Reeves, Labour's Chancellor, finds herself in the midst of a scandal that threatens to shatter any semblance of trust she might have had. Allegations of financial misconduct during her tenure at Halifax Bank of Scotland, where she is accused of approving excessive expenses, including lavish shopping sprees and parties, are simply inexcusable for someone now positioned to manage the nation's finances. Reeves, while denying the allegations, cannot escape the fact that her financial record is riddled with red flags. She has cultivated a reputation of financial discipline, but her past suggests otherwise. How can the public trust a leader who seems more interested in extravagant spending than in the responsible stewardship of public money? The hypocrisy is glaring. If Labour were hoping to regain credibility, this is a blow from which they may not recover. The party's narrative of financial prudence, already questioned by some, now lies in tatters. You can't preach fiscal responsibility to the masses when your own house is built on shaky foundations. Starmer's defense of Reeves only worsens the situation, painting a picture of a party unwilling to confront its own shortcomings. Voters will see through the defense. They know that actions speak louder than words. If Labour cannot be trusted to manage their own finances, how can they be trusted to manage the country's? And just when you think the political landscape couldn't get more chaotic, Reform UK, the party that once stood as an alternative to the broken system, seems poised to alienate the very people who have fueled its rise. By scrapping net zero, Reform UK risks making a colossal mistake that could leave them stranded on the wrong side of public opinion. The party claims that abandoning net zero policies will slash energy bills and create fairness, but they have misread the public mood on climate change. The majority of Brits are deeply concerned about the environment, and many see renewable energy as an essential part of tackling the cost of living crisis. Reform UK's attack on green energy is not just politically tone-deaf, it's economically irresponsible. The backlash has already begun, with critics warning that scrapping net zero could destabilize the energy market, ultimately driving prices up and damaging the UK's reputation as an attractive investment destination. Groups such as Greenpeace and the Conservative Environment Network have made their voices heard, and the polling data suggests that the public is not on board with such drastic measures. Reform UK's brand has been built on challenging political dishonesty and speaking to the frustrations of the average voter, but they risk undermining their credibility by taking a stance that appears to ignore the realities of a changing world. In a political landscape where voters are more aware than ever of the risks of policy decisions, it is clear that both Labour and Reform UK are at crossroads. Starmer and Reeves have made their respective missteps, and Reform UK's own misjudgment could cost them dearly. Politics in Britain is in disarray, with the trust between leaders and the electorate dwindling faster than ever. The question now is whether either party can claw their way back or if new voices will emerge to challenge the established order. One thing is certain. The voters are watching closely, and they won't forget these failures.